Very warm welcome along to the Horse Racing Network, and it's very good to have you with us as we look ahead to some very good action coming up this weekend, in particular at Newbury and Kelso. But there's also some nice racing on the flat at Lingfield. Now, this week, Izzy Phillips isn't able to join us, I'm sorry to say, but we'll be looking forward to welcoming her back next week, not only to look ahead to the weekend's action, but also along with Jack Milner, who's going to be joining me today. Jack, the marketing campaigns manager for Quiff. We're going to be taking a look later next week ahead to the Cheltenham Festival, which, of course, all roads lead to. So we've got a lot of video coverage coming up over the next week or so on this channel. But I'm glad to have Jack with me to have a look through at four particular races coming up this weekend. But just before I do, a quick word. We can't really let it go by without a word on Constitution Hill, Jack, and the news that, thankfully, in my view, he's not going to go to Cheltenham and he's going to have a crack at some good races on the level.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a 9-year-old, and the sighting, they're concerned, but by all accounts, if he runs the level he did, so I know he's only a novice stakes, but he still should have a very good career. He's
Mm.
relatively unexposed. I think he's had maybe 12, 13 career starts over hurdles. That's slightly surprised he never tried mother offence. I think he finish second in a point to point before moving to Seven Barrows, but. Yeah, I think if he was to fall and touch wood, if the worst could have happened and he would have had something injury or otherwise, I think it would have been a really, really bad PR disaster for
Yeah,
racing. So yeah,
exactly.
looking forward to him on the flat. I think I was listening to Michael Buckley on Look on Sunday, putting out potential plans together, whether it would be an Ebor horse or potentially the Melbourne Cup. But Mike is not short of a few quid. He doesn't need to go globe trotting in search of prize money. But there's some nice pots if he can campaigning well.
Oh,
And
yes.
again, if he settles well, he'll do all right. I don't know whether he'd get 2 miles, but I think you mentioned something like the Goodwood Cup could be a race for him. But plenty of options. And I'm with you, Paul. I think it's very much the common sense has prevailed in the end.
Yeah, I was very pleased to see it. To be honest, I penned a piece or I typed a piece up for our website here at the Horse Racing Network on Wednesday morning ahead of the gallop, saying I really did hope that he wouldn't be um, running over hurdles. Even though, of course, the yard is sponsored by the Champion Hurdle sponsor, so I wondered if that might be have some influence. But thankfully, quite rightly, they've done the best thing for the horse. They were going to wait till the weekend, but whatever happened on Wednesday, they took an immediate decision, and I think that's best for everybody in the business. Well, talking of the business, we've got some good racing to get stuck into this weekend. And our first race that I'm going to take you to, Jack, is at Kelso, where they've got this excellent day's racing. Beautiful track, Kelso, up in the border country. Absolutely stunning setting just across the border there near Coldstream, and absolutely delightful place to go racing, especially if the sun's shining. Well, the 2:15, Jack, is the Grade 2 Bet365 Premier Novices Hurdle. We've got 11 runners. And at the moment, as of Thursday afternoon, more or less joint favourites. There's been money early for Dan Skelton's Le Beau Madric. He's now joint favourite around the 7-2 mark with Star Mount. Montimaris for Tom Lacey. The very consistent The Last Cloud for Patrick Neville. The Blue Room for Ollie Murphy. Lord Byron, Cossack Duderi, Gaelic Rover and others. I'll let you have first crack at this and just give me your view on where the value might lie.
Um, the value is actually going to the racecourse itself. I think we were talking last week about some of our favourite racecourses, and I saw your Hexham race, you Kelso. Kelso for me, at least top three, top five. It's a beautiful place, and they really look after you there. And the race itself, not necessarily successful punting wise, but really, really nice horses won this. When my Drogo won this a few years ago for the Skeletons, I thought he was going to be an absolute superstar in those famous grey silks. I think he ended up winning a novice chase at Newbury. And unfortunately, had an injury. But if you look through the previous winners list, especially for the North as well, Mount Muse, Glingerburn, Clever Cookie, Walter Bryan, Tap Knight, who ended up being nice chasers. Nakara Bowen this many moons ago. So it's
Yeah,
been
good
one, dare I
horses.
say, pardon?
Good horses. Clever Cookie, one of my favourites. Absolute star dual purpose horse that one was in his time.
It's hard to think. Clever Cookie went up something like 5-1 for a King George when it was at the
He
bottom.
might have
That's
done.
got a few years back as well. Shame. But yeah, what I'd call proper national hunt horses, and I mean the skeleton horse is going to be favourite Le Beau Madric. He's got to concede weight all round off 125. I just think again, I'm slightly biased because we've sponsored with the Ruth Jefferson Yard for a couple of years, and she does really, really well with the horses. She really does overachieve. Le Beau Madric actually had the beating of her horse Gaelic Rover back at Newcastle. I think it was the weekend of the Fighting Fifth. The Skelton horse was odds on favourite, and Gaelic Rover was still a little bit green. He ended up getting headed, beating a length. He since subsequently won a novice hurdle by 10 lengths, and he's getting £3 from the Skelton horse. I do think if you look at the prices, I think there's something really wrong with the price. Le Beau Madric is 7-2, whereas Gaelic Rover is 16-1. 4 places if you shop around with Denise's mob. But yeah, I always really like Ruth Jefferson horses. Again, the family have got a great record in the race, and given it's only got a length to make up, he's getting £3. Gaelic Rover for me at 16-1. I just think it's just too big at the prices.
Yeah, you make a good case for it there, actually. The way you frame the argument, I mean, he's very possibly decent value. And similarly, as you know, I'm always looking to try and find some decent value. I think there are a few horses that um, are likely to go well here. I wouldn't rule out a big run from the Last Cloud, who's been mixing it with good horses like Idaho's Sun and others in his last few starts, and he wouldn't have
Mhm.
stayed the 3 miles, I don't think, at Doncaster last time. So back at this trip, with that stiff uphill finish, people don't realise it's quite an uphill run to the line at Kelso. I think the Last Cloud could go well, but I do feel that Montemares for Tom Lacey and Stan Shepherd has got a lot going for him. He won his first 2 starts at Hereford, maiden hurdle, then a novice hurdle at Market Raisin, and then last time he was beaten under 8 lengths by No Drama This End, who of course we know is one of the big hopes for Britain at the Cheltenham Festival in less than 2 weeks' time. I don't think he was possibly at his very best that day, but I do feel that at this level, a slightly lower level, he has a really big chance. So there's some 5-1 around, and it's the old bet to nothing for me with Monty Mares to go alongside the better prize choice of Jack with Gaelic Rover at around the 16-1 mark. Now, our second race at Kelso is their big handicap hurdle, and this is the Morebattle handicap hurdle, which is always really, really fiercely contested. And this year we're looking at 17 runners. The going at Kelso is expected to be good to soft, and there's not really very much rain anticipated. So I think we're going to get a genuinely fast run, quality handicap here. And there are any number of horses that you can give a proper chance to. I'm just going to weigh in with a couple that I think might be worth a second glance. Jet to Vegas for Lucinda Russell and Michael Scudamore won the Grade 2 novice hurdle on this card last year.
Mhm.
So we know he goes well at the track. He's obviously had a few issues. He hasn't taken to fences this season, and he's had a breathing operation. And I'm just wondering if coming back to this track is going to make a real proper difference to this horse, because he looked really good when he won at the track last year. He's about a 10-1 chance. Old Wise Eagle, I don't think you can rule him out. 16-1 shot for Adam Nicol. Only beaten 2 lengths last time out at Musselburgh in the Scottish County Handicap Hurdle. I think he is a horse who on his day is still very capable of mixing it. And one other one that I'd give a mention to is Hot Fuss, who finally came good in a hot race at Windsor last time out. And although he's gone up £5, he won to me with just a little bit in hand, and I don't think he'll be inconvenienced by the extra 2 furlongs. So those are 3 that I'd be tempted to take a proper look at. But Jack, what about you? Of course, we've got Cracking Rhapsody, the early favourite, going for a third win in a row in the race.
Yeah, and you can see why he's only £4 higher when he won last year. He beat the Nichols, or sorry, Cabral de Martin has obviously gone to the Skeletons. Is now rated the best part of 156. So that form stacks up. He loves it around here. He's well
Mm.
treated. He's had a wind up. I just, I'm a bit like yourself, Paul. I don't like backing 5-1 favourites in 20 runner fields. So I'd put a couple of good prices. I do think Jet to Vegas has a good chance if he gets it back together over hurdles. He's been nibbled across today. The 10-1 is going as short as 8-1 with Coral and Ladbrokes. The two for me, Serious Challenge, who landed something of a touch for connections. I always like the not. I was going to say, how do you pronounce it? Yes, no, wait, sorries. I know it's Chris Coley and the gang there.
Yeah, yeah,
Fergal O'Brien and Johnny Burke. He landed a touch at Haydock last time out. I think he's still well treated. And Captain Hugo was a little bit of an unlucky faller last night. He's going there to win at Musselburgh. Just came down, I think, 3 out. He's
mm,
12-1 with 365. Serious Challenges likewise 12-1. But it's a really good race, and it's a bit like them with the Clarence House Chase. It's improved, tenfold for reverting back to a handicap. Um, Fair play to Cal. So they've been rewarded. They've got some great prize money on it. And just like we were saying earlier, I love, if you look at the who's who of this race, Simon Sig came up and won many a moon ago. Peddler's
yeah.
Cross,
Good.
Duke of Navan, Glingerburn, Top Notch won this. Really nice horses won this race. And I'm just really pleased for the track that Kelso have been really well represented this weekend because it's good prize money and it's a cracking course. So, fair play to all involved.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great day to go racing at Kelso on Saturday. So we've given you a few there to consider. I think for me, possibly just Hot Fuss might be the one to try and back another big handicap success. There's loads of good racing, as I mentioned, across the country on Saturday. They're also set to race in Ireland as well at Navan. But the race I want to take you to next is going to be over at Newbury. Now, this is traditionally one of the big cards before Cheltenham. Of course, we've got next week's Sandown card with the Imperial Cup next weekend, which is the big teaser for the Cheltenham Festival that starts the following Tuesday. But what a race we've got at Newbury at 3:45 Saturday. The Bet Victor Greatwood Gold Cup handicap chase, 2.5 miles, good to soft ground, 11 runners. Now, the early favourite here at around 3-1, 100-30 is the very, very consistent Vincenzo, who continues to creep up the weights, but won well at Ascot last time out. Twin Jets, he's a horse who goes well at the track. He bolted up here in November, then unseated at Cheltenham last time. He's a 9-2 shot. Blow Your Wad at 7-1, 7-1 as well. I Sam, 10-1 Heltnam, who I believe is a previous course and distance winner and a previous race winner. Pleasington for Ollie Murphy is 12-1. Josh the Boss at 14s with Cookeyo for John Joe and AJ O'Neill. And Triple Trade for Joe Tizard. Glenn Gooley for Faye Bromley at 16s and 20-1 Teddy Blue. So, Jack, what do you make of this one? Is it going to be Vincenzo again, or do we have something else up our sleeve?
It's really hard to see against. I'm trying to find, say, a chink in the armor of Vincenzo, and it's really, really difficult. He's potentially a better horse going right-handed. If you look, he won at Sandown, didn't he, last season? Then he won at Ascot. Pretty convinced. I'm surprised he only went up £2. I thought he was pretty good value for that win last time. Sam Thomas's horses seem to be in good nick. He seems, and more importantly, he goes well in these really competitive handicaps. He was second when he was a beaten favourite here 12 months ago. That was off 134. He has improved this time round. He's finally kind of got it all together. He's landed a nice pot for connections as well. So I think Twin Jets is potentially a danger, but he's got to carry 12 stone. We'll see what the ground is like. We're missing out on our weather forecast with Izzy not being here, but £2 is really fair for Vincenzo. I think Di Walters and company might have thought they could have easily gone up 5 or 6 for that. Yeah, Vincenzo, he's a bet against a nothing. He jumps well, he travels. It's just a question of whether he'll get home. But yeah, Vincenzo for me off 142. I think he's still well treated. It's boring, but I've got to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you about the handicapping to go up just £2, for winning a £100,000 race at Ascot with maybe just a little bit up his sleeve. Might be
Yeah.
a shade generous there. I do think there are interesting runners in this race. Of course, Blow Your Wad took on John Bond last time out at Ascot in Grade 1, and he wasn't disgraced, finishing third, beaten 15 lengths to the great John Bond. Heltnam, he's a horse that I can never figure out. I've never managed to be on the right side of him. He's a bit in and out, but he does go well at this track. And although he's fallen in two of his last three starts and was outclassed by John Bond last time, he might do better back here. I'd also suggest that maybe Glenn Gooley could put up a better effort. Apparently, the ground was just too fast for him last time at Cheltenham, but the time before, he'd beaten Vincenzo in the Hunt Family Fund, the December Gold Cup there at Cheltenham. And I just wonder if Glenn Gooley could be value. If he gets rolling along out in front, now that there is some cut in the ground, I think he could go fairly well, and he might just be the each way value against Vincenzo, having already beaten him this season. But we'll see. It is a very, very tough race. And for our final race that we're going to look at for you today, we're going to take you to the all weather at Lingfield. You know that the flat racing on turf can't be far away when you start seeing all these decent horses turning up at Lingfield. And there's plenty of good ones running on Saturday. And the race that looks particularly interesting is the listed race at 2:35. The bet MGM Spring Cup is over 7 furlongs, and there are 8 runners. I haven't seen any early betting for this. I don't know about you, Jack, but I think this is a really interesting race with a number of horses that are quite unexposed. And of course, we've got that horse that's on a real roll, 10 Carat Harry for Jamie Osborne. Maybe we could start by looking at his chance with Tom Marquand on board.
Yeah, I think from 5 on the spin now, hasn't it, after he won at Newcastle last time out
Mm.
under Billy the Kid. Got to have a good chance. Starfinch, the filly won a maiden at Southern last time out. Something of a surprise. There's a few that could potentially be chucked in. Sir Albert for Andrew Baldwin's top rated at 101, but we do a weekly column with Hector Crouch, and I'll be calling him in the next hour, and I'd love to get his thoughts on Richie's Rocket, because I think he was it the day of the Cambridgeshire? This finished third in a maiden at Newmarket, and if you watch, it comes from the back of the telly, where my tips normally end up, but it comes from the back of telly and flies and makes about 10, 12 lengths in the final filling and a half. He said he pricked his ears entering the dip and really did. The penny kind of dropped for him later on. He then went and won the maiden round Lingfield by 9 lengths. I know they think quite highly of this horse at home, and I mean the form's already worked out. I think the Godolphin, nice good horse, Godolphin, that was down the field in that Newmarket race has won since. So Richie's Rocket, I'll try and get the inside word with Hector soon enough. But given how highly he spoke of this towards the end of last season, it'd be Richie's Rocket for me. The fact race chucking him in the deep end. Fingers crossed, our good friend Hector Crouch can land the spoils.
Well, it looks as if that's going to be our nap selection then, I think, because that's the horse I like.
Right, good.
Richie's Rocket. Yeah, no, it's frightening, isn't it? For the reasons that you've suggested, that very good run at Newmarket on debut when he was a little bit green, and then he'd learned a huge amount. You could see when he absolutely wiped the floor with them at Lingfield, and that was a really impressive effort. And I would be surprised if he's not able to build on that, especially as he was a late maturing 2-year-old, so he didn't have much action earlier in the season. They gave him plenty of time. I think as a 3-year-old, he might do well. I do think there are one or two others that could give him a raise there. That Starfinch was quite impressive over the 6 at Southall. And it's also interesting that Adrian McGuinness is sending one over, but I suspect that's just to try and, maybe nick a bit of black type, that kind of thing. And Hilly Tani, who's got Billy Loughnane on here, has been running out in Maidan, so absolutely no fitness doubts about this one. In fact, he was running in between the sand dunes there just 3 weeks ago. So, there's no doubt about it. He'll be fully wound up. Whether or not that journey back and the change of weather and everything, that was always a worry to me. But he was running in Grade Twos at Maidan last month when he was forced to cover up, who's a blooming good horse. So I think he's one to be a little bit wary of. But Rich's Rocket, I think, is the one that we're going to both agree on there to wrap this up this week.
Double
So
penalty.
some, yeah, no, there's a lot to come, as I mentioned at the start of this piece, as we move ahead over the next week or two with that Imperial Cup card at Sandown next weekend. We'll also, before that, be bringing you our preview of the Cheltenham Festival, and there is so much to look forward to. We'll be taking a look across the 4 days at our picks. Izzy will be with us, of course, and so make a note to look out for us posting our Cheltenham preview, which is going to be coming up towards Thursday, Friday next week. But for the moment, my thanks to Jack Milner from Quiff for joining us for his thoughts on this weekend's racing. And we, of course, will be back pretty much the same time next week with Izzy Phillips back on the team. Bye bye for now.